So, are video games art? What if I tell you that maybe not? Okay, let's get into this. I'm guessing we all have an idea of what a video game is. If we go straight to the point, some people consider them art, others don't. But why is this? Why is there a divide on if it's art or not? Is it only old values versus the modern ones for the younger audiences? So, to answer this, I think first we must ask ourselves a really big question. What exactly, for the love of life, is art? We look it up in a dictionary. Okay. Isn't that interesting? It specifies that it has to be beautiful or express feelings. Isn't that a little bit reductive? Yes, indeed. For example, let's use this. Is Picasso's work art? Okay, so most people undoubtedly would say yes, but is it ugly? For some, yeah. For me, I really loved it. It's not ugly at all. But undoubtedly, everyone has defined it as art. It is in a museum after all. But what about the other condition? It must express supposed feelings. It gets a little bit harder, for example, when talking about abstract art. Look at this. Pollock. There are way too many Pollock haters. But, in this case, let's see. What feelings does this express to you? In a direct manner beside the initial confusion or by other standards, is this beautiful? Most people will say no. And even then, a group of people will agree on the opposite for both conditions. Maybe it is beautiful, maybe it expresses a lot of feelings. So, we get to the point of, indeed, art is subjective. We as humans can experience beauty differently in everything, just the same as with feelings can arise from anything. But then, we get into a definitional problem again. If everything is art, then nothing is art. It just takes out the value of it. Now, you may have realized that the previous example didn't exactly really qualify as art by the definition provided, at least not for most people, even though I love Pollock. I'm a big fan of him. That's because it's a very simplified definition. Is everything man-made art? Is this our new definition? By this, video games easily become art. Problem solved. When the video is over. But so does spaghetti. I wouldn't really say that spaghetti is art. So we are gonna put this definition aside. Although I think you can make art with spaghetti. Yeah, there's a chance for that. But if we make it harder to discern, is every painting ever made art just because it has been painted? I wouldn't say so either. A lot of illustrations are made for concrete purposes, be it commercial, parody, representative, or something like that. But sometimes it could be art lying under a purpose or disguise. Although most of the time it's just falling onto its purpose and nothing else. Sometimes art can be found in things not made to be art. Sometimes things trying to be art doesn't really feel like it, even though sometimes it can be art for a person but not for another. Again, it is subjective, especially if we treat it by definitions. Then, what do we do? Well, defining art as only one thing would be absurd. So the best option is to choose a definition depending on what you are trying to study or analyze. Let's see, in our case we are trying to analyze video games. So let's talk about contemporary art. Alain Badiou defines contemporary art as one that critiques art itself through some characteristics. 1. Art can be reproduced, so it's not only an object. 2. There's no genius artist, anyone can work into becoming one. 3. The point is not the mastery of the medium, so art can be proposed from any medium possible. 4. Works are supposed to be momentaneous. They are not meant to be forever, and they are supposed to end. 5. So it's about being experienced, not about being watched. 6. This makes art political because it's changing the spectator through time via interaction. Here, we can see how art, at least by contemporary standards, and video games fall into a very common realm. It's like a Venn diagram. Yeah, you know, the two circles? So let's see. I find it funny that by contemporary art standards, the definition of art is fluid. Yeah, it's always changing. So serving a purpose, then another, and then repurposing again. To add to this, Terry Smith in 2009 gave us some idea with what is contemporary art, telling us that there are 3 definitions of contemporary art. The first one, the use of capitalism in the artwork. The second one, a focus on national and international dialogues. And a third definition, where the last 2 mix it and we add interactivity as a method to achieve contemporary art. There we go. Video games easily fall there, right? We got it. Our video games can be art now, right? Right? Well, of course, not that simple. We are going to fall into another oversimplification. Indeed, just bringing virtual interaction doesn't mean art explicitly. Let us have an example. We have here a website. What is this? Well, you touch buttons, they get all your personal information. Isn't this a little bit boring? But we wouldn't consider this art. But is this a video game at least? No, definitely not. But let's compare it to this. Let's get into universal paperclips. Universal paperclips will hardly be called a video game by some. Indeed, it's just a bunch of buttons working every time you press them. Sometimes they even work by themselves and you don't have to do anything. But this one is indeed a video game. Universal Paperclips is a video game where you take the role of an administrator of a paperclip company, where you have to make paperclips to earn money and they then buy upgrades to make more paperclips. This is entirely presented through text and buttons, graphs, charts, extremely minimalistic. So why is this a video game? It shares many similarities with a government website, buttons, information. But what else? We just found ourselves another problem, the need of a definition for what's a video game. Sounds simple, right? But it is a question that most people hasn't even considered. Let's see. We have to thank Grant Traminor for this, since he expressed the great need to distinguish video games from other forms of virtual or electronic interactive media, which ranges from electronic toys to, again, websites and such. Just a little detail that I want to add is that he stated that video games must be defined and studied as their own thing, since other areas of academia wants them because it's multiple capabilities to create in so many different ways. For example, in the case of art loves video games. They want to claim it as art, not as video games. Philosophy, too. They want to study the virtual and the real. But again, video games are their own thing. Concluding, One of the most important points he gives to define video games is an artifact created for the purpose of entertainment that uses interaction through a system of rules. So, of course, we need the game part in the virtual to make it a video game, right? Interestingly enough, these two characteristics don't need visual representation to still be qualified as a video game. So this let us have video games where we don't even need to still know that we are playing a video game, right? Okay, so video games falling into the realm of art, or vice versa, allows video games the possibility to be art. It is not certain, but it is a possibility. So that way we can discern some video games from others as art. So this weird example I chose, even though it is not the exemplary picture of what people think a video game is this game art? Once again, I would say it depends. Of course, it depends on the definition of art that we pick. If we choose the Renaissance standards for art, of course it's not. It is not a painting nor a sculpture, and those were the only things called art during the Renaissance. So, let's go with the definitions we already established as contemporary. Therefore, by Terry Smith's definitions, we got a video game, which is virtual, has interactivity, and criticizes capitalism. Perfect! It falls into every checkbox. Indeed, Universal Paperclips is an interesting one. There is fiction, there's a game, it can be entertaining. I'm talking to the me procrastinating this video because I'll play it. It is a video game that looks certainly like a simulator, but comparing simulators and video games, it's a conversation for another day. Maybe if this video gets enough likes or comments, I don't know, maybe if I get motivation. And yes, it could easily be art. But in my opinion, there's more than just this small definition. Again, art is not in what's trying to say, since art is not a message. To me, the beauty and artistic intention of this game comes from how you interact with it, creating a massive existential crisis. First, you begin in the system, working, buying, selling. Then, you create a monster of a company that is trying absolutely everything to achieve the impossible and turn the world into a paperclips emporium that even needs to go to outer space to get more resources, just to make more paperclips. And then the whole economy is based around paperclips, and people live by paperclips, and paperclips become God. And yeah, I think you get the point. Interaction as art is a beautiful thing, since we are participating in an aesthetic experience that, just as Videoessay, guides you into thought. And of course, everything being up to interpretation and open-ended. Everyone can get a different meaning out of this experience. Sometimes people just get fun, others get fun and thinking process. But then, what happens with those games that everyone and their mothers are talking about? Are those not art just because they are not even remotely mentioning capitalism? Okay, so let's make this more interesting. Video games as a medium are a thing by themselves, as we already established. When developers make a game, a lot of the time, they are trying to make games first and foremost. Sometimes good games, sometimes different games. Sometimes they just want a game that falls into a very specific category and be excellent in it. Some games are just good, man. Some games are just... But when talking about art, some are not. Especially, some have art moments. This is a complex definition that I think is super relevant when talking about art in the contemporary context. Why? Art is now defined by movement in time, movies, music, video games. They are not as static as a sculpture or a painting. So for that reason, we are going to take from Nelson Goodman's idea. In Ways of the World Making in 1978, where he talks about when is art. He proposes that art is not found in objects, but in moments created by them. Now, what makes an art moment if we are getting this specific on it? To have an art moment, we have to find symptoms of art. So it is art when it works as such. Dang. What is all of this about? This philosophy thing is hard. Well, then, what are these supposed symptoms? Let's see. So, the first symptom is how the work is structured, so it has the basis to become art. Second symptom is how the artwork works, so it can allow art to be created by the symbolic relations in it. Ouch, my head hurts. So, after a few hours of processing this script, let's say, in simple terms, the art moment can arise when there are symbols present that allow the spectator to get a meaning out of it via interpretation. Another idea that I want to add is when talking about the structure of an artwork. We refer to any part of its composition. The art moment arises from how all of the elements present in a work interact with each other, creating this space for interpretation. In the case of video games, this is really interesting because I would love to argue that the player and their interactions is part of the composition itself. But the thing is that any little thing can be interpreted in any way. This includes experience, interactivity. This is where we justify that games can easily become art through the creation of meaning in these ways that only video games can do. Let's see this in now another game that I consider to be art because of its moments. Let's talk a little bit about Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. Wow, this really famous game from some years ago. A lot of streamers play this game, but it is not about watching someone rage. That's not really the art moment in this game. This game is a lot more than what people think. I could make a whole video about it, and probably will eventually. I really love this game. Let's go straight to the point. In Getting Over It, you are nothing more than a piece in a surrealist artwork. Art moments found in how the author inserts himself with you, trying to show you life lessons through frustration, how the game is deceivingly poorly made with random assets, but all of it works toward creating an experience where you will fail and give meaning to your failure, being accompanied by the author and his sarcastic remarks every time something does happen to you. But eventually, everything pays off. You get better, more patient, and after spending countless hours practicing until you achieve mastery enough of the mechanics of the game, you reach the top of the mountain, where secrets promised by the author lay. I don't really want to spoil this even though it's been a long while since the game release, but this is a kind of experience created only through the effort you put in. This ending that I won't spoil, it's a very interesting art moment that lets you think and interact with the works in a way that most video games don't do. So, this is a kind of experience created only through the effort you put in, and the interactions proposed by the author, which later will be unique for you. Your struggles, even if similar to the ones of the other people, will always be unique to you. Another example that is certainly popular enough is the Stanley Parable. This game had a really long story in the making, coming from a Half-Life 2 mod to becoming its own game, and then having a re-release that also became a surprise sequel. The Stanley Parable can be considered art for multiple reasons. One of them is the direct consequence of the actions taken by the player, for which the narrator has to take account of. The game clearly creates a space for thinking about the relationship between spectator and creator. Because when we have to include interactivity, there's a big space for chaos through interaction, where, in my opinion, art resides. Following some of the definition we used before, the game definitely contains our moments because of this back and forth between the narrator and the player, criticizing the act of creating and consuming. Some other honorable mentions that I can miss are Killer 7 for its surreal graphics and political topics, Nier and Drakengard for changing the perspective of the story through player knowledge, Dark Souls for presenting a ruthless challenge that develops a story through patience and exploration of its world, Fest for being really cryptic and giving you a sense of discovery every time you try to decode the meaning behind every little thing. Papers, Please, for its political but human themes about border politics. Echo, for its themes about human connections without even saying a word. Cruelty Squad, for its dystopic late capitalism simulation and its surreal philosophical references. LSD Simulator for its bold playground freeform storytelling, and especially here, the author calling this an art piece and not a game. Metal Gear Solid with its exploration of politics through cinema language, made playable. These are just some of many great video games where we can find art in them. Please tell me if you have any other and why do you think they are art in the comments. Oh, but I want to add something. Just like in the beginning of the video, I said not every video game can be art, because then none will be. So let's check the case for this. Most AAA games that have come out in the last 10 years approximately form part of an industry. I wouldn't consider these games art. And one thing the industry does is treat video games as products. So they just repeat what works. Even having an epitome of remakes where they take unique games that had rough edges and standardize them just to be safe, taking away everything that made these games unique in the first place. Nothing new, head empty, no thoughts. Why do you think people are feeling like gaming has fallen lately, even though it's not really true when you look at other angles of the medium? Yearly releases that follow a formula and repeat themselves, like FIFA, Call of Duty, they are video games indeed, they are entertaining, they represent a fiction under a set of rules, and they can bring entertainment. But what about the art part? FIFA does not bring anything beyond a simulation of football, and Call of Duty tries so much to adhere to just multiplayer lately, so it lost all of the things that could fuel any space for thinking. There is also an epitome of games as services. Of course, these do work as video games perfectly, cultivating a community of people that play these games constantly. But unfortunately, we have to discard most because they focus too much on the technical aspect of making players interact in a game, more like a sport and less like artwork. Not to say that multiplayer games can't be artistic, but unfortunately, most tend to focus on competition and cooperation rather than on aesthetic experiences. In conclusion, contemporary art is a very broad term that focuses on things that can make spaces for interpretation, leaving space for thought, in which some video games can definitely create this space, having the possibility of being interpreted as art, thanks to the interaction of the player with the game. So indeed, video games can bring art forward in ways that focus on interactivity and player input. And definitely, art is more than just pictures and sculptures. But always remember, art and video games are two different things. Sometimes they mix together to make our passions one. I hope you like this video. Tell me your thoughts about it in the comments. Try subscribing if you want more content to come. And give it a like if you think there's an opportunity for some awesome things to come out of video games mixed with art. Thank you a lot, and see you next time.